all the for all the law is fulfilled in one word. What's that word? Thou shalt love thy neighbor as yourself. So what is that law God said He was going to write upon our hearts? Come on, let's be bold about it. This is what it means. Any life that is devoid of love is empty of the writings of God. Because what God said He was going to write in the minds and in the hearts of people was not the phone number of somebody in the congregation. Follow this now. It's not the account number of some mystery person. What God said He was going to write was the law, His law. That's the operation, the principle by which He operates and functions. And that law is the law of... Come on, let's be... Is that like, like on Zoom, sometimes when you're presenting, before you put here, it's like 2 seconds. Now, we're not on Zoom. This is real life, right? So, it's the law of love. Galatians 5:14. Read it again, please.
For all the law is fulfilled in one
For
word.
all the law is fulfilled in
one word.
One word. Minister Solomon, what's that word? Even in this, you shall love your neighbor. Who speaks Yoruba here? Yoruba? Anybody that speaks Yoruba? Raise your hand. Have you ever heard this expression in Yoruba? Loro Konsha. What does that mean? In summary, the summary of everything. Loro Konsha literally means in one word. What God is saying is, if I'm to summarize my dealings, the summary of everything, gifts of the Spirit, fruit of the Spirit, plant church, discipleship, apostleship, right? Whatever title people now use, right? Anything, if you had to summarize everything, what's it about? That's it. Oh, tell me.
For the whole law can be summed up in this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself.
That's it. Love your neighbor as yourself. But see, Miriam, here's the problem. If you were to tell a drug addict, love your neighbor as yourself, is that really going to be very helpful? Drug addict. A murderer, love your neighbor as yourself. Do you think it might be the most effective way? No, tell me. Do you think it's going to be very effective? How about someone that cuts himself or herself, slashes himself or herself? Some people are cutting traffic today. It's good to see you guys. Tell me, do you think it will be effective? Why? Because they don't really love themselves, right? So how do you get people to love themselves? Not to lust after themselves, because, there's a lot of that self-love. How many of the people that use self-love actually hate themselves? On social media. How many of you know that? If you disagree, express now. It's like right. Because the more you try to validate yourself, especially by engaging desperate measures, the more we know that you're trying hard to fill a void, because you're basing your love or your appreciation or value based on what people are saying. Oh, wow, nice boobs. Oh, great. Oh, that butt is hot. But hashtag self-love. Are we following? That's not self-love. That's, in many cases, is desperation. So God understands it's about fallen man. The fallen man has superficial standards. So what will he do? He said the first thing, before I talk about changing your heart, is verse 3. Me, I have loved you with an everlasting love. So a man cannot love himself until he expresses the love of God. A woman cannot love herself until she experiences the love of God. Now, self-preservation is different from love. Every man goes for self-preservation. Fallen man will go for self-preservation. However, when God introduces his love, he said, if you try to protect your life, you will lose it. So that means Jesus is trying to establish that self-preservation is not the same thing as love. Because what I'm calling you to is love, and the love I'm calling you to, one of the commands is don't try to save your life. Oh, come on. Are these hard sayings? They're hard, are we? Because some of you are looking like I'm teaching heresy. Does this sound like the truth? Whether it's hard or not first, before you call, does this sound like the truth? What part does not sound like the truth? Am I the one that said it? Jesus said, he that saves his life will lose it. And he that loses his life for my sake, he will save it. It's an upside down kingdom. The more you try to hoard, the less you have. Have you not noticed? When you used to hoard and hoard, did you actually become richer? You became rich. You eventually say 1 million. Then they stole your iPhone, which was 500,000. Right? So I don't know why for 6,000 years, man has still not figured out that God's ways are better than his ways. Like 6,000 whole years have passed. And man is still trying to prove to God that he knows life better. Hey, like, see that now. This sounds like I'm mocking people. That's not my intention, trust me. No, that's not my intention. I hope nobody's getting that idea. I'm just bemused. Like, some things like Jason Mbono is saying to me that Jesus' absolute words sound like the truth somehow. So we need to understand which Jesus are we really serving right now. Is it Jesus of Nazareth or just Oluwatoyinbo? If the man that played the keyboard for us tonight. No, I mean no disrespect to him. Me, I even like people disagreeing with me. Right. so, why is Fidel covering his face? Why are you covering your face? Right. No, but on a serious note, let's bring out one of the things I enjoy doing. I like to bring out the inner conversations. And you know why? Transformation is an inside job. And the world is full of pretenders. Pretenders is acting as if you already tended to it before you did it. Pretend. But you're not yet there. So let's know you're not yet there. Let's know that sometimes I still think Jesus' words are somehow true. I prefer that. You know, that. And the next thing, like, you're doing what we don't know. All right. So, but does it sound true? Can we believe Jesus? Can we take a chance on a man who conquered our greatest fear? Does it make sense to? All right. So, a man who has not encountered the love of God cannot love himself. And I was saying to Darren when we were coming in the car, that one of the challenges we've had with evangelism is that we try to impose our conviction before we express our care. So evangelism becomes tougher because we're trying to transfer conviction, but we have not shown care. Does it make sense? But care is what gives you access to influence. If I believe that you really care about me, I'm more willing to listen to what you have to say. Especially when that care is not an emergency display. Like, okay, so you're saying my target for evangelism this year is I must preach to 20 people. So that's 2 or 1.75 people per month. Now, I must hit the street today and I must show someone that Jesus is Lord. So when I go and I say, how are you? That how are you is not, it's not from a place of care. It's that I'm looking for icebreaker. I'm looking, Holy Ghost, where's the gap? Where's the gap? Where's the gap? Whereas if I develop the culture of asking a stranger every day, how are you? Possibly more doors will open for me to express the love of God. And maybe a platform will be built for me to express my conviction. Are we following this now? But because we make evangelism an activity more than a lifestyle, it becomes tougher. So God said the first thing in changing anybody is expose them to the love of God. That's the first thing. So before he says, I will take away your heart of flesh and heart of stone and all of that, I'll write my laws in your heart, said, I have loved you. Just know this. I have loved you. So when I begin to expose your mind and I begin to show your mess first to you, you won't think I'm trying to embarrass you. I'm doing it as an act of love. Now, many of us will try to experience transformation before immersion in the eternal commitment of God. What does that mean? You're like, oh God, I need to change this habit. I need to break this habit. I need to get my exercise routine going. I need to give you your portion every month and all of that. But the strength to do that comes from the conviction that even when I mess up, I'm still loved by God. Because God never said, I've loved you with a conditional love. He said, I've loved you with an everlasting love. Falling behind or not. Missing the mark or not. Acting like a goat even though you're a sheep. But some sheep are goats. Greatest of all time. Right? No. Sheep are sheep. Right? Spiritually helping everyone everywhere progress. Sheep. Write it down. That's white people right there. I'm not a goat, I'm a sheep. Okay? Why are you guys looking like I'm the goat? I don't have a goatee. So, exposing people to the love of God. Now, it sounds basic. But salvation is a subset of that love. Salvation is a provision of love. Salvation is not a condition for God's love. Get it? Salvation, somebody write this down somewhere. Salvation is not a condition for God's love. The Bible did not say God was waiting for you to get saved so he could love you. It said, for God so loved the world, Fidel, that he gave. So, God didn't love me because he saved me. God saved me because he loved me. And the confidence I have for transformation is, when I was dead in my trespasses, his love was powerful enough to bring me up. So if it looks like I'm fainting sometimes now, that love has done deeper work than reviving the faint. If you get it, let me know you get it. But God commended his love towards us in that whilst we were yet sinners, Christ died for the ungodly. For God did not send his son to the world to condemn the world, but that through him the world might be saved. Are we following this? This is important for growth. So the basis for spiritual maturity is not just revelation. It is the revelation, the progressive revelation of the law of God. Why? When it speaks about what is the length, what is the height, what is the depth, it didn't say what is the height of his prophecy. What is the depth of his charisma? What is the length of apostolic mantles? What is the height, the depth, the length of the love of God which passes knowledge? That means God's love is larger than knowledge. So why do we celebrate knowledge more than the love of God? This is key. So anytime you are failing or you feel you're falling or failing in your life, check out your love walk with God. Some things can look so simple. And maybe that's why we don't place emphasis on them. And then the slide, do you really believe God loves you? Because for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. It didn't say for God was so wise that he gave his only begotten son. But God is all wise, right? But what was the protocol for redemption? Was it wisdom? In demonstrating his commitment, he engaged the protocol of love. What's love? God is love. He deployed himself. So Jeremiah 31 verse 3, it said, I have loved you. Somebody say, God has loved me with an everlasting love. Say, with an everlasting love. Everlasting love. And God lived as a man. Are you here?